we're curious about smartphone enhanced teaching. So people might not have 4 laptops at their house, but my experience is that people pass on cell phones. And so when I get a new cell phone, the child gets the cell phone that's left, and there's more likely to be 4 or 5 smartphones around, and give it a couple years. And I'm curious to see how many kids show up in classrooms with smartphones. So to me, a smartphone is a clicker. A smartphone is a microscope. It is a simulation device. It is a short answer device as well. So part of what we're doing is using what we learned about disaggregated instruction and what we learned about identity matching. And so I can do lessons where online, in person, or at a distance, I can ask the kids in a lesson, does marinating food actually work? Give me your answer and tell me why. And so instead of one answer, now I've got 35 answers. I can teach about osmosis, show them a simulation, watch this video, explain it. All right, now that we watch this video, how does the holes in the sides of the meat play a role, right? And then later we can call it a semi-permeable membrane, but now I can have 35 people answering at the same time. And if explanation produces understanding, then what we're doing is embedding opportunities to communicate. What if we then do what I'm asking people to do is towards the end of the lesson, I'm asking them to use their science words. So if we learned about marinating, we can say, all right, now what if we go to the grocery store? Why do they spray the vegetables at the grocery store if the plants are already dead? Tell me the goal. And in your explanation, use the words like hypotonic solution, semi-permeable membrane, random kinetic motion. And if they are using these words and explaining it in context, then I'm arguing they'll learn better and they'll retain that information in a more meaningful way. And so we're using smartphones as learning devices and as a teaching bridge to actually help teachers engage in rich discourse practices. And that's not to replace conversation, but what we can do real time is have many, many people contribute in ways that we couldn't do before. So that's where we're headed as a lab group, is to try to find some interactive online curriculum that really is rooted in culturally relevant instruction and is really focused on this aggregate language focused instruction as well.
I think that's a really good point, because like on one hand you could do like think, pair, share, but even if you're in pairs, one person is still talking while the other person is listening. So not everybody's able to respond in the same way.
And it's not a replacement. So I can say, everyone submit your answer. Now I have answers on the board, all of them, meaning that they've been submitted on the phone. And so I have them on the screen so I can show them, make them anonymous, share your answer with your partner. And by making everyone contribute a singular answer, then as they share, there's a lot of research about peer instruction out of Eric Mazier's lab at Harvard that would suggest that in these conversations, they're more likely to move towards an understanding. And this is before I've even started offering the so-called right answer, is we produce rich conversations that can maximize learning. And so I think we have under-theorized the role of cell phones as learning devices, partly because we see them as divisive, right? They keep us from communicating and keep us from talking. And so they actually are awesome learning devices. And so we're trying to press the envelope on what's possible there.
I wonder if that'll change when COVID is a thing of the past. So let's say hypothetically, like a year from now that they've used, like we're communicating on Zoom so heavily using these devices to communicate and collaborate with people, if it'll become just more of a norm to use these in the classroom.
Yeah, we were in a lab group discussion suggesting that a lot of the future will change because of Zoom. So parent engagement, parents are much more aware of the norms and challenges of classroom instruction. And so engaging a parent through Zoom, might be something completely different. Like, I'm in California, but snow days have to be a thing of the past. The new generation may never experience a snow day because you can just have Zoom days to replace the snow days. And then people being able to get connected with broader communities. And so the limits of your community can be expanded significantly. I just found out just recently that they have bioengineering groups that are trying to compete with makerspaces. And so instead of doing engineering work, you can do bioengineering work. And one way to build that community without having to fly 100 people to the one lab that's in Las Vegas is getting people online to share a shared interest. And so we have a new tool that I think creativity will win out at the end of the day and allow us to really press forward and being creative about what's possible.
And I hadn't even thought of like the virtual side of snow days, because like being in Phoenix my whole life, that doesn't exist. We have days where the AC goes out for the school and they're like, well, we got to close the school down.
I was just going to say, there's got to be some kind of heat index days where you all should stay home in Arizona, but we'll see.
Yeah, there certainly are days where it's like, okay, everybody has to stay inside, recesses in your classroom, play quiet ball or whatever.
Absolutely.
This excerpt of the CSK8 podcast is from episode number 53, which is titled Situated Language and Learning with Bryan Brown. You can listen to this full episode as well as hundreds more by searching for the CSK8 podcast or by going to jaredoleary.com.